Feel free if you want to check in any way that allows you to feel comfortable and arrive here in our field today before we start our work on the ICF-PCC markers for today. If there is anything you want to share about yourself, your journey, where are you in your journey, what are you expecting from the session, feel free to do that. So, welcome everyone. Today we are going to embark on a new journey, which is of ICF PCC markers. And earlier we were doing a series on the ICF Luxembourg chapter, was hosting a series on ICF core competencies that we just concluded. And now we have started this new series. This will be covering all the ICF PCC markers, except one and two, which is about the ethical, establishing the ethical behavior and also about the coaching mindset. So we'll be covering from 3 to 8 in this series. A little bit about me. So I'm the secretary for ICF Luxembourg chapter, and I am an ICF PCC credentialed leadership coach and a mentor coach for coaches on their ICF ACC PCC credentialing journey. And I'm also an ICF PCC certified assessor. I do something called systemic coaching and constellations facilitation. So I'm a practitioner of this work, and I'm a master's in human resources and have over a decade of experience with various corporate organizations in various HR roles. I will share my LinkedIn here on the chat so that we can all be connected. And please feel free to share yours so that others can also connect with you. Okay. So as I was sharing about this series, we are going to cover ICF PCC markers. So, what are ICF PCC markers? ICF PCC markers are the markers which are used to assess the recordings that ICF receives or a training institute receives for evaluating a coaching, a learner's recording, and then to certify them for the credential. So these are the markers that the evaluators have with them, and they use these to mark the recordings. These also forms the basis for the coaches to also understand what are the competencies and how do they showcase those competencies in their coaching sessions. So we covered the understanding of the ICF core competencies. What are they expecting us to do? And today we will see from an assessor's perspective, what are they expecting in each of those competencies from a coach. So today we will be covering the ICF competency 3, which is establishes and maintains agreements. So to start with, there are four PCC markers here, 3.1 to 3.4. And the ICF competency 3 is the foundation or the most important competency, I believe, in a coaching session, because this really forms the agreement for a coaching session. So the definition of this 3.1 marker is coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what the client wants to accomplish in this session. Now, here, how to ask for the goal for the session. That's something that we are going to understand here. What is the expectation in terms of setting up the goal? Now, Sometimes when the coach is asking the client what is on top of your mind that you want to explore, the clients can go into their journey or engagement goal that, I want to get promoted, and I want to see this change for myself in my career. And that might be a long term goal that they have in their mind, and they might start sharing that with the coach. So, in as per this marker is only marked when the coach is able to get a very clear understanding from the client on what is it that the agenda that the client has come up with for this particular session. So, in the next 30 minutes or in the next 1 hour that we have together, usually you would have planned that with the client. What is it that the client wants to achieve or accomplish by the end of this session today? So, this session today is really, really important from an assessor's point of view, that it has been established that what is it that the client is looking for in this session, not the long term journey goal, not the long term plan that the client has in their mind, but what is it that they want from in the next 30 minutes or 1 hour or 45-minute session that is there. So, for example, if the client will say that, I want to move into this new role, I want to become a VP of marketing now, that is what I'm looking forward to. So the coach can then ask, so I really understand, your aspiration. I was wondering what is it that would be useful for us to focus on so that you're able to look at your goal today in this session. So what piece of becoming a VP for marketing would you like to focus on in this session today, so that you feel that you're able to move towards that larger goal? So, asking them couple of questions so that they're able to narrow down and focus on what is that piece that they want to focus on for this session today. So that's a piece that's really, really important here. Um, there are times when the client might not be very clear on what they want to achieve really in this session, and that's okay. Like, they will share some stories, they might not be very, very clear on what is the goal that that they have in their mind for that session. So exploring it in a way so that you can partner with the client so that they're able to come up with a goal for this session. So digging deep until they reach a point where they're able to tell you a clear goal is really important in that time when they're not very clear. So they might say that, okay, I'm looking to for a career transition, but I'm not very sure what I want from this session. So maybe just exploring what are the values, why do they value career transition, where are they in their career now, what is it that they're expecting from their career, what is it that they really value, what would feel like they had a movement by the end of this session today. So asking a couple of questions so that they are able to move towards forming a goal for this session. And until there is a clear goal established for the session, uh, you cannot do 3.2, which is about the measure of success or the importance. You can ask them what is the importance or meaningfulness of the topic that they're bringing, but we will see in the coming markers that 3.2 and 3.3 and 3.4 can only be marked when a clear 3.1 is established. So when a clear goal is established, only then the coach can ask about the measure of success of that goal and meaningfulness of that goal, and what is coming in the way or how can they achieve that goal subsequently. So hence, coming at a very clear goal is very important. So it could either be an inquiry when the coach asks. The difference between an inquiry and an exploration is that inquiry is just one question on, for example, what is it that you want to accomplish in this session today? And an exploration would be more than one question. So you will ask, what is it that you want to accomplish? But the client is not clear. You will ask another question related to that till the client shares what they want to accomplish in this session today. So that's how you continue to dig deep unless a focus is reached for the session. what is it that you want to see by the end of this session today is something that needs to be clarified between the coach and the client very, very clearly for 3.1 to be marked. And it could be done in different ways. Sometimes the client will already have a clear goal in their mind and they will tell you, so you know what, this is what I'm looking for from this session today. If I'm able to have these three action steps for how to improve my relationship with my manager, that is what I'm looking for. So then you already have a very clear goal coming from the client. In that case, the coach needs to reconfirm the goal. So I am hearing that you want to improve your relationship with your manager, and you want to come up with three action steps in order to do that. Am I hearing that correctly? Would you like to add anything here? So you just reconfirm what you have heard from the client to reconfirm the goal for the session. And sometimes the measure of success of the goal might already be in the statement that the client says to you in the first time, that I want to come up with three action steps in order to improve my relationship with my manager. So those three action steps are actually the measure of success for the client. That is what they want to achieve by the end of the session, or this is how they will know that they have got it. So you also reconfirm then that I'm hearing that how you will get to know by the end of our session today that you have been able to improve, you have got that clarity in terms of improving your relationship with your manager is having these three action steps. Would you like to add anything here? Am I hearing you correctly? So those things, or if you want, you can also ask them for more clarity on that. What is there any other indicator for you to know that? So just asking them to add or to confirm, etc., would be good enough for this marker to be established. Please feel free to add your reflections, any questions if you have at this point of time. The second marker here is 3.2, which says that the coach partners with the client to define or reconfirm measure of success for what the client wants to accomplish in this session. Now, 3.2 is about the evidence or the proof. So, measure of success means how will the client know that they have got what they were looking for from the session? What will be the evidence for them? What will be the proof? Now, this can be tangible or sometimes it can also be intangible. So, a tangible way to know that they have got what they were looking for could be for the last example that we discussed, that I'm looking to have three action steps in order to improve my relationship with my manager. I want to come up with three ideas or three action steps. Or I want to come up with a strategy, or I want to come up with a plan. So, in that case, when it is about like a plan or a strategy, you can also ask, how will you know that you have got that plan or that strategy? How would that look like for you? So, going to as much detail as possible in terms of understanding exactly what is there in the mind of the client. Now, this has to be sometimes the measure of success, they might say, in terms of the long term vision that they have in their mind. So, when I'm able to kind of feel that I am ready to move into that VP role, that is how I will get to know. Now, that is a long term goal or a journey goal or a long term vision that the client has in their mind. And that will not be marked as the measure of success for this session, because this session's goal is particular part of that larger goal that the client would have said. So if the goal was to understand how can they improve their communication style, or how do they come up with some research so that they're able to know how to move to that next role. So the measure of success has to be about that research. It cannot be about the larger long term goal. So clarifying that and asking them measure of success or evidence is specifically related to what you established as the 3.1 or the goal for this session would be important. So again, the focus is what how will the client get to know that they have got that goal that they established for this session through this measure of success. So 3.2 is will be about the 3.1 that you established before. Sometimes it can also be intangible. So if the goal is around confidence, that I want to improve my confidence for the upcoming big presentation that I have for my global clients, then they might say that I will come to know that I have got this in this session when I start feeling like I'm feeling more confident by the end of the session through whatever we explore or discuss, which is also okay. It could also be a feeling or an emotion or a gut feeling, and it can be intangible as well. Sometimes the client would also say that I don't know right now, but I will know in the session that I'm moving towards the goal. So, measure of success is established when the coach has inquired about the measure of success. How will you know by the end of our session today that you have got this, using the client's language of the goal? And the client might also say sometimes that they don't know, which is also okay. The marker will still be marked if the coach has inquired about it. Now, what do you all feel is the benefit to the client when 3.1 is done and then 3.2, which is the measure of success, is asked with relation to the goal for this session? You can unmute yourself and share what do you think would be the benefit to the client.
Maybe I can briefly share. So, as I understand, setting the goal or helping the client set the goal initially helps them also be clear in terms of what we're working toward. And then having the measure of success kind of reconfirms that and helps them understand how do I know if this session was helpful. I don't know. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense? Yeah.
I
Yes.
think it helps
Yes.
it. I think both parts help it not to be nebulous. The client is even if the client has a pre-coaching questionnaire, the client is clear about what they want from each session, and they put it in words. It's not bouncing around in their brain. And the clarification at the end helps them to establish a to-do list for the next session or how it impacts their lives so that nothing is nebulous, just kind of floating around in their brain, their inner critic, and all that other stuff. So having 3.1 and 3.2 allows the coaching to be framed into something that has some framework.
Absolutely. So it brings more clarity to the client themselves and also to the coach. And it is absolutely important for the coach in order to support the client in this session. They have that clarity, and more work gets done in a very short amount of time when this clarity is achieved. So a lot of my clients, they have shared that because you kept asking me what is it that I'm looking for, it really helped me understand what I was looking for, because sometimes they don't know when they are coming in the session, but as they continue to work with you, by mid of your journey, they will know that you're going to ask that question in every session, and they will be more prepared, and they will come and tell you directly that this is what my agenda is for today's session, because I know you're going to ask me. So that happens as well. But in the initial sessions, just when they are getting used to coaching, it will be really useful for them to clarify what is it that they have probably at their unconscious level to come to conscious into their awareness in terms of their goal and what they're looking for. Now, 3.3 is about the coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client about what they want to accomplish in this session. So, as we were discussing before, there is this word used here, inquires about or explores what is important. So, this inquiry about the importance or meaningfulness, or sometimes some coaches use the word relevant, what is really relevant for you here, or what is the impact of this for you, or what is the significance of this. Any of these words or more could be used in order to establish the meaningfulness or importance of the goal, the 3.1 that was established, not the larger goal, but the goal that was established for this particular session. The coming up with 3 action steps in order to improve their relationship with their manager. What is the importance or relevance or impact or meaningfulness of this goal for the client in this session? So that is what you're looking to explore. And when it is inquiry, it will happen in one question. When it is exploration, you will continue to have more than one question as you continue to go deeper with the client. So client has shared something and there is a word that you want to explore. So you will ask, what is the meaning of this word for you? And you continue to explore what client is sharing in terms of meaningfulness or importance of the goal for them in this session that they want to accomplish. Again, this is very, very specific to what they want to accomplish in this session, not their journey goal, not their vision. In all of these markers, you will hear this word that in this session 100 times because it is really, really about that smaller piece that the client wants to work in this session. And that is what, like when I assess or when I mentor coaches who are early in their journey, that is where they struggle, that they're not exactly able to focus on the goal for this session. If the client says that I want to explore about my career decision or there is this career dilemma, and they go into the solutioning mode, okay, so what options do you have, what have you already tried, etc. So the goal is not very clearly established in terms of what piece of that career dilemma they want to look at today, and how will they know that they have got that, and what is the meaningfulness of looking at this small piece today in this session, and then exploring other things. So that is what meaningfulness or importance would mean for marking this marker in for from a 3.3 perspective. Anyone wants to share what's the benefit to the client when we explore the meaningfulness or importance?
I'm actually thinking in terms of, when sometimes clients suggest unrelated goals, maybe, if I may say, right? Maybe they bring very big goal and then you try to help them narrow it down and focus for this particular session. And then they bring like random topic, or like maybe not random, but it's not so relevant, right? So I think maybe even like asking, so inquiring or exploring in terms of why this goal is meaningful and relevant maybe helps them realize that actually maybe it's not relevant to my bigger goal. So maybe I pick something else. So this is something that's coming up for me right now.
Yes, very beautifully shared. And that time it might be that they are looking to change their goal for the session as well when they're exploring sometimes meaningfulness or importance. So
May I also, yeah.
yes,
Sorry, you continue. I thought.
yes, please. No, I will add later to that
Yeah.
point.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, that's how they make their goal more powerful if it's really their goal, and they will be more driven to achieve it. And also, it could be not their goal as well. So, for example, it's important not for me, for my parents, for someone. That's how we can discover, is it really their goal as well.
Absolutely. And it could also be in a client-sponsor relationship, a sponsor's goal from, coming from the company or the manager or the organization. Absolutely. So it makes them realize that what is the meaningfulness of this goal for me. And, sometimes they will connect it with their values, what they value in their life. And that's a beautiful place also to go into a little bit of the being of the client and understanding their core values and who this person is. um, and and then while exploring the meaningfulness and importance, if there is a shift in the goal happening, if you notice that their 3.1 is changing for them, the goal for the session is changing for them, and that usually they will only tell you that, I'm right now realizing that probably this is more important for me to work on for today's session, then you can say that I'm noticing there is a shift happening in your goal here. How do you see this piece, the new piece that they are talking about now, the why, in relation to X that they spoke about before as the goal for the session? So you can ask them either a question to connect, to invite them to look at the new why in relation to X, or you can ask them that I'm noticing there is a shift happening in your goal here. What would be really useful for you to focus and accomplish in our session today? X or Y. So I heard X before and I'm hearing Y now. So you can either ask them to choose, or you can ask a question. Like a question that I really like is to ask them how do they see this in relationship to X, the Y to relationship to X, because that really helps them. If I'm not forcing them to choose, I'm asking him open-ended question in terms of seeing what are they holding in their mind with respect to the Y and the X. Are they connected, not connected? Let them come up with that. And then we kind of go and focus and choose. So that's possible if you're noticing a shift in the goal. And then if there is a shift in the goal and a new 3.1 is established, then 3.2 again needs to be established for this new 3.1. So a new measure of success needs to be checked for the goal that is changed for the client now if they change the goal. That not doesn't happen in most of the session, but for like the 5% sessions that I would have seen where it happens, the coach then again needs to do the contracting. So for a new 3.1, a 3.2, and this is true for any time in the session, even if this is happening at say 20 minutes in the session. It's a 1 hour session, and at 20-25 minutes the client is saying that no, probably I need to work on this goal, not that X, but I want to work on Y. Then you again need to do the contracting. You need to confirm the goal, the new goal, also connected with the previous goal. Ask them, we were talking about X before, would you like to focus on Y now? And then you need to ask them, how will you know you have accomplished Y by the end of our session? So 3.2, measure of success. Again, meaningfulness also again for the new Y. And then, you continue to explore and you also, at in that moment, make them aware that we have only 30 minutes or 20 minutes left in the session. If you are at the last, 20-30 minutes, tell them that we are at this point of time. What will be useful for you to accomplish in the next 30 minutes now? So they should also be partnering with you, and they should also be aware that where are you in the session with respect to time, then if you are going to recontract for the session. So they choose then what will be the direction for the session. Any reflections, thoughts, comments here?
I think this kind of question might help the client also to understand what is the problem behind the problem, like really going to the source, to not necessarily to look to try to work on the effects of the problem, but really going to the source of the problem.
Yes. Could you also share some example of that for all the participants to understand? Like if you have any short example.
Yeah, let's take one for communication. Having a client that says, I want to improve my communication. And then when asking for the meaning why, actually he was completely unsure about his communication. So it was mainly more on the confidence side of communication, not necessary to improve the communication skills, but the confidence. And then we really went to the source of the problem.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So the contracting piece really helps the client to understand what is the source or where is this problem really coming from. It might not be what we usually hear on the surface at the superficial level, but as the coach is digging deeper, it might be about something else that they are also not aware of sometimes, and it comes as the coach is inquiring. Absolutely. And the fourth one is the coach partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address to achieve what they want to accomplish in this session. Now, here the words, what the client believe they need to address to achieve is important. It is the now, so far, the client has shared what is the agenda or the goal for the session, the measure of success, how will they know they have got it, and the meaningfulness. And not necessarily all of these will happen sequentially, one after the other. If that is happening, that shows that the coach is just focused on the competencies and the PCC markers, and is not doing in the moment coaching with the client. So that's not advisable. That's not how it is expected. In the moment coaching would be happening when whatever is coming in between these exploration is also explored. Like, for example, if the client shares something about their value, that is explored, or if they are sharing some metaphor, that is explored, or if the coach is sensing there is an emotion present as the client is sharing about the meaningfulness or any other thing, then the coach is also exploring everything that the client is presenting to the coach in that moment. So all of these are happening in the moment, along with organically the competencies or the PCC markers also blended in. Now, sometimes in some of the sessions that I am assessing, uh, the language that the coach is using to accomplish these markers are very generic. It just shows that the coach is not listening to the client, and they're not weaving in the client's language or the word, or integrating the client's language or the word in their question, and that those questions sound very generic. Then what is it that you want to accomplish in this session? And then, if for example the client has shared a lot about their career, then the coach can ask that, I can hear that, this is something that is really important for you right now, your this decision about your career. what is it that you would like to accomplish by the end of the session with respect to your career today that will feel useful for you? So using their language, their words as you are phrasing your questions is really, really important to show to for also for the client to feel that the coach is listening to me and is understanding my context and my world that I am bringing in for the coach here. So, customizing your question, and this is also another marker, 6.1, that the coach is doing here, which is the coach uses the client's language to phrase their questions. So every time when you're, and although 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4, they are sequential. 3.2 can only happen when 3.1 has happened, the goal has said, and 3.3 can only happen when 3.1 and 3.2 are done, and 3.4 will happen after that. However, it should not sound like it is a sequential thing that is happening, asked in a very generic manner. So it should be something that is happening organically in the moment, exploring what the client is also presenting to the coach. The If there is something difficult the client is sharing initially, the coach also empathizes with the client, that I can understand that this challenge might be creating. Like if the client shares that, I have been having a lot of anxiety. I have been feeling very anxious, a lot of anxiety because of this challenge that I'm going through. So the coach says that I really appreciate you for sharing this, and I can understand that X can lead to anxiety sometimes. So you're also empathizing with the client in that moment. And then you ask an open-ended question. So what I'm wondering, what would be useful for you to accomplish by the end of our session today so that you're able to feel better, you're able to feel that you have moved forward, or you're able to feel that you have got something useful from our session today. So you are also staying with the client in that moment, another human being, and there is a connection. You are building safety, you're building trust parallelly. So a lot of other markers will also be marked for you when you ask your question in this manner, that you're also um, acknowledging the client, you're appreciating the client, you're empathizing with the client, you are customizing your questions. So your competency 4, which is about building trust and safety, is also getting marked there. Your competency 4, which is also about empathizing with the client or acknowledging the client for their uniqueness, are also getting marked. Your competency 6, which is your listening actively, active listening, is also getting marked because you're using the client words, and then you're asking your questions. Sometimes for marker 3.3, I have often, and in most of my sessions, I have observed that the client talks about the importance or meaningfulness of their goal in the beginning of the session. When they just start speaking, they usually tell me that, this is happening or that is happening. That is why, this is becoming very important for me to work on this now. So when I do a 3.3, which is about their smaller focused goal for this session, I always acknowledge that I heard you saying X, Y, Z in terms of importance before. What would you like to add here for this smaller goal that you're talking about in terms of meaningfulness? So they always feel that the coach has heard me, the coach is listening to me, and the coach is also bringing what they heard about my topic before. So just weaving in, can be done throughout the session, and that would make it even more powerful for the client and for the coach in terms of building trust, safety, and movement in the session, and it feeling like a very organic session. Any comments, reflections here? So for marker 3.4, which is about the coach partnering with the client to define what the client believes they need to address to achieve what they want to accomplish in this session. Now, this can be done in two ways. It can be either about what is blocking or stopping the client from achieving what they need to achieve in this session. Again, this is about the 3.1 established for this session, not the larger long-term vision or goal that the client have in their mind, only what they're looking like. How do they improve the relationship with their manager, and coming up with these three steps or ideas. What do they think is coming in the way in terms of getting these ideas and improving their relationship with their manager? Now, either it could be what is coming in the way, or it could be a positive psychology, strength based approach. The coach can also ask, what are some of your strengths that can be leveraged here so that you're able to improve your relationship with your manager? I personally like the strength based approach a lot. So, and if you ask in any of these ways, the marker is marked for you. So it could be about what is coming in the way, or what do they need to overcome? What is the roadblock? What's the obstacle? Or what do they need to work on in order to achieve this? It could be done in all of those, or it could be what is their strength that they can use here so that they're able to work on this or able to achieve this goal that they want to accomplish in this session. So there are multiple ways in this in which it can be done, and all of these are okay, and all of these will be considered for 3.4 when the coach inquires about that. And sometimes it might also be that they tell you that, this is what I need to do in order to achieve my long-term vision or long-term goal. And then the coach can ask them to relate that to what they need to do in this session today to come up with these three ideas or three action steps that they want to improve their relationship with their manager. If they share that in the long term what they need to do, you can ask them, how does that look like for you in this session? What do we need to work on in this session for you to achieve what you need to achieve? So you can also ask them to connect if they're coming up with a long term larger thing that is a blocker for them. So that ways you can partner with the client to break it down into smaller pieces that they need to work on, and then the journey of evoking awareness starts from here. They will share about maybe some fear or something else that they're feeling that is coming in the way, and then an exploration of where is this coming from, or what is triggering it for them, why do they believe, or how, what is making them feel that they are that this is who they are. So then there is a lot of being question and evoking awareness question that could be done from here. What could be the benefit to the client of understanding what do they need to address?
I'm not quite sure what this question is. What could be the benefit to having what they believes they need? Because the other side of it would be, what has been the benefit of not having it? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And the word believe here is really important. What do they believe they need to address to achieve? And that, again, as Nicoletta was also sharing in her example, that might be a very superficial, surface level belief that they are carrying so far. But your questions or exploration will help them understand what do they really need to address here, what is really, in play here. And so going deeper into their belief system or the fears that they're holding for themselves and understanding where are they coming from and are they serving them and how do they need to reframe them or look at them differently. Sometimes it could also be that the client shares that it would be about maybe the fear, for example, that I'm carrying this fear that I need to overcome. And the coach then explores that. And it can also be then done in terms of emotion. So as they speak about that fear, what are they experiencing in this moment? And also a somatic inquiry can be done. Where are they feeling in this moment? So you are just inviting them to become more and more aware of what do they feel they need to work on, what do they believe is blocking them in this moment. So that's also something that can be done in that moment, just for them, for that thing to come into their conscious awareness. What is it? Where is it? How does it feel? And where is it coming from? And then if there is anything uh, that they are carrying with respect to it that needs to be um, reframed or looked differently, what are the different perspectives here to look at it?
For me, this is also could be to clarify the focus and maybe clarify where the exploration needs to start.
Absolutely. And sometimes when it's not very clear, I ask a very open-ended question to them. So, how would you like to proceed from here? What would you like to look at first? What would you like to explore first in this? So, it could be partnering with them in this moment to really understand how do you move forward in the session from there. So, just for the first marker, 3.1, if the goal for the session is about clarity, that if the client says that, I want to get clarity about my career by the end of the session today, the coach needs to explore what does clarity mean for the client. Like if, for example, any word in the language of the client is ambiguous, the coach needs to ask further questions to resolve that ambiguity for the client and for the coach for this marker to be marked in cases where there is ambiguity in the language of the goal. So that's just one thing that I wanted to add here. So now looking at this overall competency and these markers, if there is any other questions that you have, we can explore that before we close for today. I'm almost done with what I had.
I can ask one question. So there are a lot of core competencies, and then these, how did you call them? Like sub divisions, right? Markers, I think you called them. There are a lot of them. Are we expected to meet them all, like to touch upon all, or we are expected, when they evaluate our recording,
Yeah.
are they going to look at, do we touch upon all the core competencies, or do they go even deeper to see, do you touch upon every single marker as well?
So depending on which credential you're appearing for example, for ACC, there is something called ACC bars. And for PCC, these are the markers. And for MCC, there are MCC bars. So a number of, so for ACC bar, for example, if there are, say, 30 bars that, the evaluator is looking at. So in that 30, not all 30 needs to be met, but there will be a marking scale. So for example, if the coach is um, able to meet the criteria, they have done, for example, 25, they have met 25 out of those 30, and then they are meeting the criteria for passing the assessment. And then if it is more, then it will be a level higher and higher. So there are, for example, a 5-point scale. You are at a 3 when you're meeting the bare minimum requirement. And for example, you have these numbers, I'm just giving you a random number. Out of 30 markers, say 25 you have met, and you are at a 3 out of 5. And then if you have done, say, 27 or 27 or something like that, and then you are at a 4, and then you have done completely 30 out of 30, then you are at 5 out of 5. So something like that could be an internal scale to look at the ACC bars, or for the PCC bars as well. So it's not necessary that you are demonstrating all the markers in a session, but the more markers you demonstrate, the better is your chances of clearing. But for these markers specifically, 3.1 to 3.4, I would say that these are really required for you, because unless you have a clear established goal for the session, it is very difficult to have the session, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is very important marker, but you don't need, like, if there are 37 markers, you don't need all 37 is the short answer. It could
Okay,
be
thank you.
it could be lesser number as well, yes.
Sorry, Rashmi, may I ask? I'm still thinking. What about a bigger goal? When do we discuss a bigger goal? What is behind this goal for this session? When we discuss the strategy for all our cooperation? Like,
Yes.
so
Yes. So different coaches have different ways of doing it. Like usually I do after my initial discovery call, where I've just met the client, I've understood what they want to work on briefly, and I've explained them what coaching is and is not, etc. Then after that, there is another session. It's some people call it a chemistry session, some call it a foundational session, which is more in detail. So then that will be about understanding who this client is, more about their personal background, professional background, what are the goals that they're looking for from the session. It will not be a coaching session. It will be more of understanding the client session, a foundational session, or it's called a chemistry session, because the coach gets to know the client more in detail, and the client gets to know the coach as well a little bit in that session. So that is usually one and a half hour, and there we do that. And some coaches also do another additional goal setting session for their entire journey. So, that is their first session. in their journey of, it could be a 8 session journey or a 6 session journey or a 10 session journey, whatever they have decided together, but they call it a goal setting session. And that there they only focus on coming up with the goal for the larger engagement together. So by the end of that 8 session, where does the client want to be? What will be their top 3 goals, professional goals, personal goals, etc. So you can do it in any of those ways. For your submission purpose, you will submit a session which is like a proper coaching session after that.
Mhm. And those sub goals, yes, that will be taken to sessions should they be determined at that moment, on those sessions, like chemistry, etc., or a client comes every time and we always start what in their mind now, or it should be kind of planned. So for me, this is tricky a bit.
So for every individual session, the client has to bring their own agenda. So although there might be journey goals that you have already discussed with the
Okay.
client, you are also aware of it, but the client has to do that work. You will not do that work for the client. The client has to come up with the shorter goal for that session. In that session, you will always have to ask the client to do that. Even if you know the goal, you will always ask them, so look at those goals and tell me what is it that you want to accomplish by the end of the session. Because unless they do the work, they will not take responsibility for their actions. So it is highly, recommended that the coach asks the client to do the work in terms of getting the agenda for the session.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Most welcome. Okay, so if there is no other question, we can close this session for today. And then we will continue in the series on covering the other competencies from 4 to 8.
Thank you so much, Rashmi, for this session today.
Welcome.
Thank you. Very valuable, very informative, structured. So thanks.
I want to
Thank you,
thank
Rashmi.
you, but I also am not sure what's happening. I thought we were going to go for 2 hours a day and go through 3 to 8. So there are 4
Okay.
sessions.
It's a series. So we are just doing competency 3 for today. That's what we had said in the.
Then I'll have access to CDs for the rest of them.
You will see all those events on the ICF page. We will be publishing all of those. I think it's all already there, probably.
Okay, so I just go into the learning portal
Yes,
and I see the
yes,
rest. Yes.
yes.
And I want to say to you, I'm already a PCC. I got my credentials 3-4 years ago, and I'm finding that the beginnings are drifting of clients, especially clients who have been with me for a while. And to come back to the markers, I thought would be, it also adds to renewing my credential. But I think that what I've gotten today is exactly what I wanted to get. It's like, how do I keep it grounded during the sessions? And you start with the markers and the 2s, the 3s, you keep going through. And so I want to thank you very much. So I won't see you live ever again. The rest of it will be.
No, it will all be the similar format. It will be live. You can
Okay.
participate in all the coming sessions as well. Similarly, as how you registered for this one, you will see the series on the ICF page. There will be more sessions like this.
You know when the next one will be? I'm not sure if I see it there. So I'll register just like I did this one.
What I'll do is I have your email from your registration. I'll mail it to
Yes.
you.
Okay, I'm Joya Nuri. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all righty. I usually don't confuse easily, but I am so confused as to what's happening. Okay, but I look forward to seeing you next session and everyone else.
Looking forward to see all of you as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That mail as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Rashmi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.